It started as an innocent idea. I wanted to gather stories, true ones, the kind people only whisper about online, the ones they post late at night when their hands shake and their minds can't hold the memories any longer. I told myself it was harmless, a fascination with fear, a collection of voices echoing across the void. What I didn't realize was that by pulling together these tales, I would also weave myself into them, becoming part of something darker than I could have ever imagined. The first story came from a girl who swore she never used to believe in ghosts until she woke up one night to find her bedroom door wide open, though she always locked it. She lived alone. The hallway light was on, and in the faint glow, she saw the shadow of a man leaning against her doorframe, watching. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, but when she finally blinked, he was gone. She told herself it was sleep paralysis, until the next morning when she found muddy boot prints leading from the front door all the way to her room. The second story came from a nurse who had worked the night shift for years. Hospitals, she said, are never quiet. There are always creaks, whispers, and the beeping of machines. But one night, while walking past an empty wing, she heard a baby crying. She followed the sound, thinking maybe a patient had been misplaced, only to find the wing deserted. Still, the cries grew louder until they were deafening. She turned to run, and standing in the hallway was a woman in a hospital gown, holding something small and swaddled. The nurse swore she had no face, just smooth, pale skin stretched where features should have been. Another story came from a man who rented an old cabin deep in the woods. He laughed at the legends about the place, saying locals only tried to scare him. But on the second night, he woke to scratching beneath the floorboards. Thinking it was rats, he ignored it. Then came the whispers. Muffled voices rose through the cracks in the floor, chanting in some ancient tongue. When he fled in the morning, he found the underside of the cabin smeared with hundreds of handprints, all small, like those of children, burned into the wood. The stories poured in like rivers of dread. A woman who swore her dog kept growling at the same empty corner every night. A man who woke to find every photo in his house had been turned to face the wall. A child who claimed her imaginary friend had long black hair and lived in the mirror. Each story felt like a thread, and I tied them together, not realizing I was weaving a noose around my own sanity. One night, I received a message from a girl named Emily. Her story didn't feel like the others. It wasn't past tense. It was happening in real time. She wrote, "He's in the house again. I hear him in the kitchen. Please, someone believe me. I called the cops, but they said it was nothing. He's watching me. I don't want to die." Her words came rapid, desperate. Each message seconds apart. Then suddenly, silence. I never heard from her again. When I checked her profile later, it was gone, as if she had never existed. But I couldn't stop. I was addicted. I kept gathering stories. A trucker who picked up a hitchhiker on a rainy night, only for her to vanish from the passenger seat near a cemetery. A teenager who found Polaroid photos of himself sleeping scattered across his lawn. A mother who tucked her daughter into bed, then froze when she saw her daughter already asleep in the living room. A camper who heard laughter outside his tent, only to unzip it and see dozens of children standing silently in the dark, eyes glowing faintly. The collection grew, but with it came something else. I began to hear scratching at my own window at night, faint tapping that matched the rhythm of my typing. My lights flickered when I read certain stories out loud. Once, I heard a voice behind me whisper, "Don't share mine." Still, I pressed on. 36 stories in total. Each one darker, more twisted than the last. I told myself it was for entertainment, for people like me who craved the rush of fear. But deep down, I felt it. These weren't just stories. They were warnings. Or maybe invitations. The 36 story came from an anonymous account, no name, no history, no trace. The message was short. "You've written enough. Stop before you become the next story." I laughed nervously, but my hands shook as I typed it into my collection. That night, I dreamt of every character from the stories standing in my room, watching me sleep. The faceless woman, the muddy-booted man, the mirror child, all gathered around my bed. When I woke, the sheets were damp with mud, and tiny handprints trailed across my wall. I don't know if you believe me. Maybe you'll say these are just tales spun from the internet, fueled by paranoia and sleepless nights. But I know what I saw. I know what followed me. And now that I've finished writing them all, I'm terrified of what comes next. Because the moment I hit post, I swear I saw movement in the corner of my eye. A figure leaning in my doorway, smiling, waiting. Maybe this is where the 37th story begins.